What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another week of the Sports Degenerates podcast. You guys know us. If this is your first time listening, make sure to also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Spreaker. We're also on Twitter at the Sports Degens and Instagram at Sports Degenerates Podcast. And as you guys should know by now, you guys can also watch us on YouTube. So make sure to find us on there. That's also the Sports Degenerates Podcast. And make sure to follow us on all of these platforms if you can, especially Twitter and Instagram. And make sure, if wherever you're listening to this episode or watching this episode, make sure to like it if you can. That would help us out big time. And like I said, you guys know us. We're just a couple of college students that can talk about sports all day. We love watching sports. We love listening to sports, everything to do with sports. So we made a podcast about it. And here we are. Matt, how you doing this week?
Not that good. Not that good. The pain just continues. I mean,
yeah, you
this
lost another bet.
Yeah, this time the pain isn't NFL related. It's just NBA related. I picked the Lakers. I picked the defending champs against Nets without KD, and I lost again. It's just everything NBA is not going well right now. The Nets beat the Lakers, put me in this robe again, and our favorite team sucks right now.
Yeah, the Nets are going off, and good for them. But you know who's not going off are the Celtics.
That's what I'm saying.
Matt, I'm on a warpath right now, and I'm sure plenty of other Celtics fans are on a warpath too. If you guys listen to us, please make sure to comment or tweet at us or whatever you want to do, and let us know what you guys think of the Celtics this season. We're going to tell you what we think of the Celtics right now, and like I said, I am.
Spoiler alert! It's not good.
I am so mad at this team right now. This season is right now almost a carbon copy of the team 2 years ago, the last year that Kyrie was on the team and they were just imploding. And I would say this team so far is almost just as frustrating, if not more frustrating, than that team. Because on that team, you had Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, and you had a young Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown who weren't the leaders of the team yet. And they didn't perform to what you were expecting. And this team is almost just as annoying, because I think the big thing for me is the fourth quarter struggles that they have. They've had multiple games that they have had the lead going into the fourth quarter, and then they look horrible in the fourth quarter. There's actually some stats here. Turnovers, they're 24th in the NBA, turnovers in the fourth quarter. They're 26th in the NBA in points in the fourth quarter. That's horrible. So they're down the bottom of the league in points in the fourth quarter. Bottom of the league, 26th in three-point percentage, 29th in field goal percentage, and 29th in assists. That's disgusting. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? You have such talent. I actually saw today that the Celtics are the only team below 500 to have two all-stars on the team. That is unacceptable. You have two all-stars on your team, and you are below 500, and you have some of the worst stats in the fourth quarter in the entire league. What is going on? I am absolute disgusted by seeing this team, especially that game. I don't even remember what team it was, because I think my mind is already trying to block it out. You had a 25 point lead. You had a 25-point lead, and you let it up, and you lost the game in overtime. Yep. What are you doing? What's going on here?
Yep.
Like, there is so much wrong with this team that like you can't even put into words. I'm sure they're probably missing Marcus Smart. As much as I've talked about in the past, possibly trading Marcus Smart, I'm seeing now that maybe it's not the best idea to trade Marcus Smart. He might actually be the beating soul of this team. Maybe if he's playing, you might be a little better right now. But it is absolutely unacceptable seeing a team that is this talented up top. Your starting five has Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Mind you, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like I said, two all-stars. Tristan Thompson, if he starts, who isn't a bad center, and I don't even know who's starting, who's the fifth guy right now. To be honest with you, I think they have Tice playing as well, who's not bad either. But that's a good starting five. You should be above 500 team. You should be a top 3 team in the East, and right now they're 6th in the East, 6th or 7th. They're fighting for a playoff spot. Absolutely ridiculous, and it's not acceptable.
It's not, man. And I think you pointed out one of my main points that I think is why the Celtics are struggling right now. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but it's their depth, it's their bench. It's almost non-existent. They just don't have one. And the starting five is great. Tatum and Brown, they are phenomenal. They're pouring in almost 30 a game each, but they're doing all the work. They're doing all the work. I'm looking at the last two games, which are both heartbreakers for the Celtics. The one where they blew the 25-point lead against the Pelicans.
The Pelicans, yeah, that's who it was.
The Pelicans.
Of course, it's the Pelicans. I mean, Pelicans aren't a bad team, but the Pelicans, what are you doing?
Yeah, Nesmith led, or Neesmith, excuse me, led bench points for the Celtics. He had 10. Then I go to the Pelicans. They had Josh Hart off the bench. He had 17. Then the game yesterday against the Mavericks. Celtics best bench player, Semi Ojale. Did I botch that? No, Ojale.
You got it.
8 points. Their leading scorer off the bench. Do you know who the Mavericks had? Jalen Brunson, 22 points. Tim Hardaway, 14 points. Boban Marjanovic, 10 points off the bench. The Celtics have zero depth. They are getting eaten alive, and it doesn't help that one of their starting five, Kemba Walker, sucks. Yeah. He is playing horrible. In that 24-point blown lead loss to the Pelicans, excuse me, you know what Kemba went from beyond the arc?
Wasn't it like 3 for 15 or something like that?
1 for 12.
1 for 12.
1
That's
for 12
even
on 3-point shooting. Kemba is blowing it, and I just sound like a broken record of every Celtics fan right now. But man, like get Kemba out of there, and just I don't know, get some more bench players. Stop blowing leads. Stop fouling and giving them easy and ones, which I saw a bunch in the Pelicans game. Holy crap, there is a lot to unravel here. What else do you have to say?
Yeah, so I want to touch on the whole Kemba situation in a little bit, but I also want to talk about more this fourth quarter issues. I think it goes beyond the scoring. Obviously, like I mentioned, they're bottom of the league in turnovers, points, 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, and assists all in the fourth quarter. It goes beyond that. Me and you both watched these games, or if we didn't watch the games, we kept track of them. But a big problem is their defense. So there's their defense, like you said. There's the fact that they have no depth, and they're relying too much on things that don't work. And you see it every game. The main thing, we talked about this last playoffs, that it was the same thing that they did. They played the ISO offense, they had too many turnovers, fouling too much, and the defense sucked. That is not a recipe for success. And you've seen it. I think
for blowing leads.
Exactly. It starts with, like I said, that ISO offense they're playing. They're playing hero ball essentially, and they're taking too many threes, trying to like say Hail Mary threes almost, trying to get back in the game because they see that it's slipping away from them. And I think kind of what's happening is these players that like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker. I would say less Kemba Walker and Marcus Smart specifically when he's playing. Once they see that they're getting down, all three of them want to try and be the star of the game and get them into it, and they don't want to pass. They just want to play that James Harden style, that ISO offense, keep the ball, try and dribble around your opponent, pull up for a three or whatever, and that doesn't work. You have to play team basketball and pass it around. And then that gets into the next problem of, like we said, depth. Yes, part of the reason why I think they're playing the ISO as well is these players, these top guys are gassed by the time the fourth quarter comes around. Exactly. And I think that's a big reason why they're not playing good defense and they're not playing good offense either in the fourth quarter, is because they're being relied so heavily on. These players don't have any time to take a break, because if you put those backup players in, you're going to get down by like 20 points or whatever, because you can't rely on any of these backup players. And that's a big problem. I mean, I've gotten mad at Brad Stevens. I'm a little mad at Brad Stevens because Brad Stevens should be coaching better. Should be doing a little better with this team.
He was bad in the playoffs too.
Exactly. He wasn't good in the playoffs. I have heard a lot of people say fire Brad Stevens. I wouldn't agree with that. I am putting plenty of blame on Brad Stevens, but I would not say fire him, because I don't remember who I was listening to, but they brought up a good point. Brad Stevens, you look at his coaching career, more often than not, he has exceeded expectations with the team that he has. So, and plus, if you fire Brad Stevens, who else would coach the Celtics right now? I would take Brad Stevens almost over most of the players, most of the coaches in this league. True, but I think a big problem as well is Brad Stevens has lost the locker room almost, not fully, but Kendrick Perkins said that he thinks guys just aren't afraid of him, and you need some sort of power dynamic there that the players respect your coach, and not that they don't respect him, but the players need to. I don't know. You need to command some sort of almost fear, kind of, from the coach. That, like, if you're not playing well or if you're acting up, the coach is gonna bring the hammer down. And I don't think Brad is commanding that right now. So I think it goes from top. It goes from the top down. It goes from right up to Danny Ainge all the way down to the last man on the bench. Because, like I said, it's not. This is not a way to win. You saw in the past that the Celtics have had those teams that I was talking about with Brad Stevens that have kind of overachieved. They had depth players that you could rely on. They had the Jay Crowders. They had the I don't remember who else. They had plenty of um, veterans that are in the league that could overachieve like that. Right now, their entire team, their entire bench, they don't have any real real veterans on this bench, and that's a problem. I would love them to bring back Isaiah Thomas. That's
Oh,
probably not going to
absolutely.
happen.
Yeah.
But I'm getting it's a huge problem that they keep doing this, and I don't know what they need to do. I'm starting to be I'm starting to kind of believe that they need to almost blow the team up. Besides a handful of players, like I've talked about, we've talked
Yeah.
about Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart. I would say Marcus Smart's in there. Jaylen Brown. I think Marcus Smart's kind of the edge of that. I would trade Marcus Smart depending on who you get. We've mentioned this before. Uh,
Totally.
and get rid of Kemba Walker. But it is absolutely infuriating seeing this team that should have this much talent doing nothing. And if Danny Ainge doesn't make a trade by the deadline or pick someone up, I don't know.
Screwed.
Yeah, you really
Yeah.
are. And if he doesn't, then I'm all in on blowing this team up in the offseason. And if he
Totally.
doesn't, because I'm sick of Danny Ainge, because you see this every year, is that leading into the trade deadline, it's always, oh, Celtics are looking at everybody and they do nothing.
Oh yeah.
Last time they
We
actually
sound like a
really
broken record talking about
last
the
time that they
Celtics
really
now.
made a move,
Like,
last time that they really made a move was the Isaiah Thomas trade. I think it's like
yeah.
8 years ago now.
Oh my
8 years ago,
gosh.
which is crazy. I remember when that
Yeah.
happened. That was the last like big trade the Celtics made on the deadline.
Yeah.
And they need to do something. I don't know what it is. They need to find some sort of spark, get Marcus Smart back, trade some of these players for a veteran or somebody that can really help you out. Like I said, I would love them to sign Isaiah Thomas. I think Isaiah Thomas is kind of the grit as well that they need. Be a fantastic spark off the bench if he still
Would
has
be
that in him.
great. Yeah. Yeah.
It really is just unbelievable, and I'm getting extremely sick of this team because you can't. They're almost unwatchable now. They really are almost unwatchable. That I will turn on the game and it happens every time. They play decent in the first half, and then in the second half they just absolutely start imploding because they're exhausted and they have no one to help them out on the bench.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm in agreement. I would be all in on blowing the team up too, outside of the three that you mentioned. You know, Brown, Tatum, and Smart, and it's because of that reason. The way they're playing now, it's unsustainable. You can't keep going like this. Certainly not going to win a reign like this. Um, I look at players on the bench that you could maybe get something for, and my eyes go right to Peyton Pritchard right away. Like a decent rookie, up and coming star. I don't know how much you could get for him, but probably a veteran player.
Yeah.
You know, maybe somebody who could help them now while you know you have Brown and Tatum in their good years. Like I think definitely the time is now, you know, to you know go for it because they got two All Stars, and I think they're wasting Tatum and Brown's years. It reminds me of JJ Watt saying to Deshaun Watson, "We wasted 1 year years, man. I'm sorry. Separate sport, but
Oh,
same
completely.
concept."
Completely. I couldn't agree more with that. And I mean, I'm kind of torn on trading Peyton Pritchard. I think he has a lot of potential to actually be possibly a starter at some point. I'd be
And that's why
hesitant
he's
on
got
trading him.
trade value. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I think I would trade him if it's the right deal. I'd be hesitant on trading him, but either way, uh, it's just like I said, I'm getting sick of it. And a big thing too, the main player that I would trade is Kemba Walker. And
Yeah, definitely Kemba. Yeah.
problem with trading Kemba Walker. Now we're going to touch on this. You mentioned this earlier. Is there was actually a report I think that came out yesterday or the day before. I don't remember who reported it. and he said that apparently some opposing GMs are ticked off at Danny Ainge for trying to trade a broken down Kemba Walker. And that's another thing that makes me really
What?
mad. That's another thing that makes me really mad because you see every time a player gets traded or whatever, and like you hear people in the media say it's it's a business. It's a business. That's how this works. I understand GMs are a little wary of getting fleeced by Danny Ainge because the amount of times that he's fleeced teams is incredible. I mean, he fleeced. Yeah, it kind of blew up in his face in retrospect, but it was still a good trade, trading Isaiah Thomas for Kyrie Irving.
That was great.
Fantastic. That's a fantastic trade. I mean,
Yeah.
again, that's a big reason why GMs are kind of um, ticked off at him is because Isaiah Thomas was damaged goods, and he didn't let the GM know that the opposing GM know that, so he was able to get Kyrie Irving basically for free, and then obviously the Brooklyn trade, he absolutely fleeced Brooklyn for I think it was like 4 first-round picks or something like that. Turned those into Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Obviously the Kevin Garnett trade, that as well. And
Oh
so
yeah.
GMs understandably are wary of trading with Danny Ainge. But I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? You're in a business. You're in a business. That's what you try and do. I could almost guarantee you 90% of other GMs in the league, if they had Kemba Walker on their team right now, they would be trying to trade him. Don't
Yeah. Don't be
don't
hypocritical.
exactly. Don't give me, oh, he's trying to trade damaged goods. You do the same thing. Man up.
Yeah.
Man up. This, like we
Absolutely.
said, it's a business. Like if you can trade anybody on your team to get better, you do it. If you see that one of your players are damaged good, you try and trade them and get the most out of them that you can. And I'm sure, like I said, 90% of other GMs in the league would do the same thing.
Yeah. From what that sounds like to me is the rest of the GMs are just sort of crying. They're being little wimps. Like, you're absolutely right. If they had Kemba, they'd want to get rid of him too, right?
Yep.
And they, instead of getting mad at Danny Ainge for doing something that if they were in his shoes they would do too, they should just get it. Like, okay, we get it. He's trying to get rid of Kemba. Like, it makes sense. And yeah, instead of being mad at it, just be wary. Proceed with caution, and maybe don't give him a Kyrie Irving, for example, for Kemba Walker.
Yep.
Maybe what's a good example? What's a team I could think of? I don't know. Just I'll just toss like
Yeah.
the Pacers in there. Don't give
Sure.
the Celtics like Domantas Sabonis for Kemba Walker. Don't
Exactly.
do that.
Yep.
Like, just think like he's Kemba, but he's damaged goods. Like, look at the past and you know understand that might be what happens, but don't get mad at the present for that. Like, of course Danny Ainge is going to try that. Like, he has to. It is
Exactly.
just business. I 100% think it's business. These guys need to stop crying and
Mm-hmm.
just understand that.
And also, speaking of Kemba Walker, get that man out of my face. I am sick
Yeah.
of Kemba Walker on this team jacking up, like you said, going
1 for
12.
12.
What are you
Uh-huh.
doing? What are
Yeah.
you doing? I know there was a quote somewhere. I don't remember who said. I think it was a guy on the Heat that said, "I would rather go like 0 for 50 than 0 for 9 because that 0 for 9 means I
Means
stop
I
shooting."
stop
Whatever.
trying.
Get that out of my face. Get that out of my face
Kemba
right
will
now.
go 0 for 50 if he
Jesus.
wants. You know
Listen,
what I mean?
listen, Kemba
Oh
can be good
man.
at times, but
Yeah.
obviously you are seeing that he is not the same player that he was even at the beginning of last year. This
Yeah.
knee injury screwed him all up. Yeah, maybe down the road, maybe in like a year or whatever, he can come back, like possibly seeing Isaiah Thomas doing. Isaiah Thomas has been injured for years, and you're seeing him on Team USA right now playing pretty well. Good for him. But I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for that. I want someone on this team that can perform. And something that kind of worries me, actually, I don't want to get into this too much because I do want to move on to a little bit of the QB carousel in the NFL for the last 10 minutes. But I one thing that worries me is you've seen now the past 2 starting point guards that Brad Stevens has had haven't fit on this team.
Nope.
Kemba Walker fit for like half a season before he got injured. Kyrie Irving fit for 1 season before he started being a nutcase.
Being
And
Kyrie.
then before that, it was Isaiah Thomas, who was great. But the thing is, at that time, Isaiah Thomas was the star of that team. I don't. That kind of worries me that Brad Stevens can't figure out how to work a point guard into the system with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Right, with
Um,
those two,
yeah,
man.
but either way, like I said, get Kemba Walker out of my face. I'm done with him. He seems like a great
I
guy.
know.
He seems like a great guy, great player on this team, great personality. I love that they signed him. He was the point guard that I wanted them to sign once once Kyrie left. I wanted Kemba Walker as soon as I knew that Kyrie was gone. I wanted Kemba Walker on this team, and like I said, he was good for half a season. He helped them out last season for sure. But now this he's damaged goods. Get him out of here.
I agree.
Give me somebody else. And I'm sure I would not be surprised if over the offseason Kemba Walker gets traded.
I agree, and I'm a Connecticut boy too. I'm a
Yeah.
UConn fan. I loved Kemba at UConn, but at the moment, all of his numbers are down all across the board. He really is damaged goods. I mean, he's averaging the least points per game he has in 7 years, I think, since 2014 in Charlotte. His field goal percentage is down 5% from last year, but he's still taking the same amount of shots. His 3-point percentage is down 5%, still taking the same amount of threes per game. He's just shooting way worse, and he's assisting less this year too. Like, if you can't do it, at least give it to, the guys you mentioned, maybe Brown and Tatum, but he's averaging an entire assist per game less this year than last year. I mean, Kemba's just on the decline, man. I agree. Get him out of here. Nice guy, loved him at UConn, but that's not the Kemba we got now.
Nope. They need something else. They need to get something out of him. But I wanna start to move on here real quick. Let's get into our bet of the week.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
Talking about the Celtics. Talking about the Celtics. We're gonna make this a Celtics bet.
Yes.
They have 4 games, including the game tonight against Atlanta, and their last game before we meet up again, before we record this podcast again next Wednesday, is against the Clippers. 4 games. Let's make the bet. Can the Celtics go 500 or better? I'm going to say no. I'm saying the Celtics are going to go, are at most going to win 2 of the games.
2 of the games. 2 wins or less.
Yep, 2 wins or less.
Okay.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I'll take the opposite on it. I'll take 2 wins or more just because the team is sucking right now, but I want to see them succeed. I want to. And my immediate thought, which showing by the rope here is usually wrong. Yeah. My immediate thought is they're going to lose a bunch of these games. So I'm going to take the opposite. Why not? Why not just do the opposite of what I think is going to be true? I mean, look, they're playing Atlanta, Indiana, Washington. Those aren't great teams. And then they do play the Clippers. That's going to be a tough one. But, man, if the Celtics could win maybe 3 in a row and then drop one to the Clippers, there we go. I win a bet. I could see it happening. Yeah. I mean, it seems like they're due, even though they're sucking and they don't deserve anything right now. But yeah, I'll take 2 or more. If they do win just 2 out of these 4 games, we'll call it even.
I agree. But yeah, because I'm saying 2 or less, you're saying 2 or more. So yeah. if we tie it, they win 2. Nobody wears their robe of shame next week.
Yes, I can be freed. Hopefully. Yep.
So,
watch them lose all 4. I'll just.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I wouldn't watch them for the rest of the season. But I want to move on. I do want to move on. Let's move on to the quarterback carousel in the NFL this season. This offseason.
Something fun to talk about.
Exactly. Something kind of fun. I do want to start out with the Patriots a little bit. The coaching, the QB carousel would be there are some rumors going around about right now. I think the big name linked to the Patriots is possibly Marcus Mariota. Because, and we're going to talk about the reason why, is because people are kind of thinking that Marcus Mariota is going to command like a 3rd, 4th round pick based off of what Indianapolis sent to Philadelphia for Carson Wentz. And I want to get into Carson Wentz in a minute here. Yeah. I would love Marcus Mariota on this team. Absolutely. I mean, he's not amazing, but I think he'd be better than Cam Newton. He's younger.
By far.
It gives you somebody that is a serviceable quarterback, possibly. And I think he'd be a very good quarterback for the system and what Bill Belichick's trying to build. He would want a game manager that can hand the ball off, run the ball if need be, and make some throws to get you first downs. And I think Marcus Mariota is a player that can do that. He can be almost a Ryan Tannehill type on those Patriots, and I'd be totally okay with that.
And that's a perfect comparison to exactly. Ryan Tannehill, comparing him to Marcus Mariota. Those are both Titans quarterbacks, right? And my mind goes straight to, as a Chiefs fan, Marcus Mariota making a big comeback against us in the playoffs with the Titans and, effectively kicking our asses in the second half. So like
Exactly.
Mariota, we know he can get it done. He can if he's got a good team around him. So I think that he could be a good building block.
Yeah.
But
Another one that I actually just saw right before we started recording this, is there are rumors that the Patriots would be interested in Jacoby Brissett if he becomes available. I wouldn't mind that either. I would prefer Marcus Mariota,
same.
but the reason why I would be okay um, with Jacoby Brissett is because, one, he was already on the Patriots. He showed that he could be a service. He knows the Patriots system. And two, you saw what he did. I think it was 2 years ago, last year, whatever it was, that he didn't have a bad season. He started out as one of the better quarterbacks in the league
Yeah, he
for
was
like
all right.
4 or 5 games. He was a better quarterback in the league, so I'd take him. Like I said, I'd rather take Marcus Mariota, but I think anybody right now would be an upgrade over Cam
Oh,
Newton.
Cam.
And I think
Absolutely, yeah.
and I think at the end of the day, what that quarterback would be for the Patriots is just someone to hold them over until they do end up finding the guy down the road. I wouldn't be surprised if they start taking almost the Chiefs approach. Build a really good offense and hold out until you find the guy that you think is perfect for the team, which is
Yeah,
exactly what the Chiefs did. The Chiefs had
it is.
Alex Smith was a holdover. They had
Oh yeah.
Alex Smith until they were able to draft a quarterback that they think could be fantastic for them, and they hit for sure. And I
They
could
did.
I could see the
Yeah,
Patriots doing a
yeah.
similar thing.
Yeah, we had Kelsey, Hill, Watkins.
Yep.
I think we drafted McCall Hardman a
Yep.
year after Mahomes,
Yeah, I think so.
something like that. So I mean, yeah, great offense. I could see the Pats doing that, even though they want a good defense based on what we've heard from Bill.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, anyone other than Cam would be great. I prefer Mariota over Brissett. I don't think Brissett is that guy. Sorry, Chris. But yeah, dude, I mean, even that high schooler that was jawing at Cam Newton might be better. Sign that high school kid.
Oh my God,
Like,
unreal, unreal. So what do you think about the Carson Wentz trade? Like
oh
we
yeah,
talked about, Carson Wentz didn't command that much draft capital. What was it?
yeah,
I
not
think
much.
I think the Colts gave up a third round pick and and
Conditional
yeah,
second, right?
conditional second that could
That's the
turn into
word.
a first depending on how much Wentz plays. What do you
Yeah.
think of that for Wentz?
Oh yeah, beautiful trade. Honestly, the Colts getting Wentz. I mean, the Colts needed someone. Losing Rivers, and again, Brissett is not that guy. Sorry, Chris. But great trade. I mean, they had to give up basically nothing to get Carson Wentz, a former almost MVP. Right? He got
Yeah,
injured and Brady won it that year. Go figure.
yeah,
But yeah, man, I think Wentz he could maybe play at that level again with a good team. I mean, the Eagles sucked last year. That wasn't entirely Wentz's fault, I don't think. Doug Peterson sucked. They were horrible. I think Wentz still has one last chance to prove himself, and the Colts are a good team. They have an amazing O line and defense. They're going to give Wentz opportunities to win. He might be that guy. I certainly think he could put up similar numbers to Philip Rivers, and we saw Rivers brought him to the playoffs. So great job by the Colts. I like it a lot.
yeah. I could totally see Wentz making some sort of comeback. I don't think he'll get to the MVP caliber that he was that year, but I think Wentz
Agreed. Yeah.
can. I think he could find almost a career, quote unquote career renaissance with the Colts because they don't have a bad offense. I think they need to find a few other wide receivers to put around him. But I think
Yeah.
if you get the right guys, I think he could be a pretty good quarterback with the Colts and help them out big time. And I mean,
Totally.
Carson Wentz isn't the only guy that's been traded. Obviously, we saw the Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford trade. Matthew
Yeah.
Stafford
That
got
was unexpected, man.
the Lions got, what was it, 2 or 3 first round picks from Matthew Stafford plus
Yeah.
Jared Goff. And the thing that's crazy to me, that shows just how little value that Jared Goff had, at least with
Yeah.
the
Right.
Rams. That essentially Jared Goff was just a throw in that trade.
He
That's all he was.
was. Yeah.
He wasn't the center. He wasn't the centerpiece of the trade. They were like, okay, here are two first round picks, and yeah, here's Jared Goff just so you can have a quarterback too.
And they gave him a good contract too. I'm surprised they were kind of careless with just getting rid of him.
Yeah,
But I think both teams kind of benefited in that low
I think so.
key. Like, Matt Stafford. I mean, the Rams have a lot of the tools right now to make a Super Bowl run still, I
Yeah,
think. And
I totally agree.
Matt Stafford is that step up from Jared Goff. So maybe he could be the difference maker. Would love to see Stafford finally win a playoff game in his 80-year career at this poor guy. And Goff, he's going to take a step down in Detroit. I think that's what we're all expecting, but that's a serviceable quarterback for now. And you got some future, got a lot of future picks for a quarterback that wanted to leave anyways. So,
Yeah.
I think both teams won. I mean, the Lions, they're going to be 6-10 at best anyways for the next foreseeable future. So I don't know if you call that a win or not, but yeah, good for both teams. Did we cover everything? I think we got a lot of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's still a lot of rumors out there with a lot of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's
I think
Sam Darnold. We forgot him.
exactly. A lot of it right now is in flux.
Yeah.
I know. I was reading yesterday that the Jets are probably going to wait until they finish like interviewing and all the different quarterbacks in the draft test out, so they can kind of make a decision, see like, all right, maybe like this quarterback would be better than Darnold, and if they decide that they don't think any of the quarterbacks in the draft would be better than Darnold, they're going to stick with him. So Sam Darnold could possibly be on the move if the 49ers are able to find a better quarterback or trade for a better quarterback or something. Jimmy Garoppolo could be on the move. Yeah, we were talking about how the Raiders kind of decided to will most likely move Marcus Mariota over Derek Carr. Derek Carr could get moved if they're able to get the right offer. On the Panthers, they could be getting rid of Teddy Bridgewater, and obviously two big and exactly, and the two big ones are right now Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. There's rumors surrounding them. So this could be one of the biggest quarterback off seasons in NFL history, between the amount of quarterbacks that could go in round one and quarterbacks that have rumors linked to their names. It'll be really interesting to see what happens, because free agency opens in less than a month. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll be keeping track of it, and we'll be talking about it here in the future. And I will say, if the Patriots are able to make a big trade for a quarterback, we will be doing a breaking special. No matter what day of the week it is, we'll be doing a special for the Sports Degenerates podcast. So if that does happen, make sure to be on the lookout for that podcast. But that's going to do
talk
it for
about
us.
it. Oh, no. Don't cut me off. Hold on.
Sorry.
Sean. I could, what I could see real quick? I'll just toss this in there. Nobody expected Matt Stafford to go to LA, right?
Yep.
What if Deshaun goes somewhere that nobody is expecting? Like that, I could totally see that. There's so many teams in the picture. But we'll save that for a future date. The Texans might not even want to trade him, which is sad.
Who knows? It'll be interesting. But like I said, thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you here next week on the Sports Degenerates podcast.